By now, everyone knows who Wardell Stephen Curry is. He's the Michael Jordan of this generation. And while the phrase was never "be like Steph," every kid today for sure wants to shoot like Steph.
Curry, way downtown, bang! Bang! Oh, what a shot!
Number 30 isn't just an NBA superstar. He's a global icon. And for over a decade, he's been one of the defining faces of not just the league, but basketball itself. But while the world watched Steph, another Curry was working in the shadows.
Seth Curry hunting, step back jumper, yes.
Just like Steph, basketball runs in Seth's blood, and he can torch any net he touches. Unlike his older brother, however, Seth never exploded into superstardom. He wasn't the face of a franchise. He wasn't the player every kid wanted to be, or the one crowned as the greatest shooter who ever lived. His path was different, slower, quieter, built on 10-day contracts, late-night workouts, and years spent chasing a dream in the shadows. Yet, after more than a decade of grinding, of carving out his own path, Seth Curry now stands shoulder to shoulder with his brother. So, how did he get here? Ladies and gentlemen, this is the story of how Seth Curry silently caught up to Steph Curry.
And Steve Kerr just mentioned how he thinks that the timing is right for you guys to play together at this stage, and pretty special for you.
Yeah, it's definitely special. It feels like a good time in both of us.
Seth Curry was born in Charlotte, North Carolina, just 2 years after his big brother. Like Steph, he grew up tagging along to his father Del Curry's NBA games. He was a child of the league, surrounded by pros, immersed in the rhythm of the game, and breathing basketball from the very beginning. As kids, he and Steph went head-to-head in countless battles, and as they got older, there really wasn't much separating them in terms of pure basketball ability. In fact, you could even argue that Seth Curry was the better high school player. But being the younger one, Seth was always in Steph's shadow. And though he didn't know it at the time, stepping out of that shadow would become one of his greatest lifelong challenges. Hey guys, I'll be real with you. I'm not much of a gambler, but I do love finding ways to make the biggest sports moments feel even bigger. That's why I'm excited to team up with today's sponsor, DraftKings. They just launched Pick 6, a super simple way to play daily fantasy. You just pick 2 to 6 players, choose more or less on their stats, and you're in. The best part? For new DraftKings Pick 6 customers, when you play just $5, you'll get $50 in bonus picks. That's 10 times the action instantly. All you have to do is download the DraftKings Pick 6 app and use the code HoopReports when you sign up. Again, that's code HoopReports. Play $5+, get $50 in bonus picks. Because this time, you're not just watching basketball, you're in the game. After high school, however, Seth faced the same challenge Steph once did. He was undersized and not an elite athlete. So in an era before the three-point revolution, that meant the top college programs hardly paid attention. Davidson showed interest, however, the same school where Steph had become a national sensation. But Seth wasn't looking to follow in his brother's footsteps. He wanted to carve out his own path.
Kind of my whole life, I kind of wanted to separate myself a little bit. That's one of the reasons I decided not to go to Davidson out of high school. I wanted to kind of make my own mark, be my own person.
So rather than retrace Steph's path, Seth chose a different route, one that led him a little farther out, to Liberty University. But from there, he broke out.
He is cut off by Smith. Leaves it to be. They're not a team that scores a lot of points.
Among more than 1,000 freshmen nationwide that year, Seth Curry led all of them in scoring. Still, however, just the year before, Seth had just watched his brother make a Cinderella run and capture national attention. And being the competitor he is, Seth wanted to match and even surpass his brother. So, chasing tougher competition and a bigger stage, he transferred to Duke.
After this place, I was like, man, I got to go somewhere where I can play some real basketball and be around some better teammates and play just at a higher level. So I opened up my...
At Duke, through relentless work and unwavering toughness, he earned the respect of Coach Krzyzewski, becoming an elite shooter, a steady leader, and one of the players Coach K trusted most.
That they've got depth, they run the motion offense.
Curry, up and under, count it, and a foul. Curry, again.
Unfortunately, during his senior year, Seth suffered a stress fracture in his shin, an injury that limited his workouts and eventually required surgery, something NBA teams weren't eager to gamble on. The timing couldn't have been worse either. I mean, this was 2013, before the NBA's three-point revolution when shooters weren't fully appreciated yet. And standing just 6'2" on a good day, he was labeled as a tweener, aka a shooting guard trapped in a point guard's body. So, despite everything, despite being Del Curry's son, despite being Steph Curry's brother, despite 4 strong years split between Liberty and Duke, and despite proving he could score with the best of them, when the 2013 NBA draft ended, Seth Curry's name was never called. Steph Curry is a great basketball player, but even a better human being. So, having the influence he had within the organization, on August 23, 2013, the Warriors decided to give Seth a shot, signing him to a non-guaranteed contract. Not a promise or a guarantee, but an opportunity, which is the only thing Seth wanted. During the preseason, though, Seth averaged just 7 minutes and 2 points per game. Not exactly a breakout performance. And just like that, heartbreak struck again. After only 6 preseason games, the Warriors waived him, cutting him from his brother's team. Imagine that. After dedicating your entire life to basketball, dominating at every level growing up, with your brother at the top of the world, Seth couldn't even find a place in the league. Instead, he was relegated to basketball purgatory, the D-League. But from the very first game, it was obvious he didn't belong at that level. In his debut, Seth dropped 36 points on 12 for 19 shooting, proving he was a cut above everyone else. So not long afterwards, the Memphis Grizzlies took notice and gave him a shot. On January 5, 2014, Seth Curry officially made his NBA debut. 4 short minutes of playing time before being waived right after the game. Heartbreak, false hope. It was like the basketball gods were teasing him. Still, Seth didn't fold. He went straight back to the D-League, locked in, and went to work, and eventually became a D-League All-Star. A few months later, in March, the Cleveland Cavaliers needed an extra point guard. Seth was signed to a 10-day contract, played about 9 minutes, hit 1 3-pointer, but then, once again, was released almost immediately after. Across the league, his brother Steph was averaging nearly 25 a game, becoming one of the NBA's brightest young stars and entering the illustrious MVP conversation. Seth, on the other hand, kept grinding in empty gyms, took long bus rides, and played in empty D-League arenas. The only reason anyone knew who he was at the time was because while Steph and Klay were taking over the NBA as the Splash Brothers, Seth was, somehow, some way, playing next to Klay Thompson's brother in the D-League. The following summer, Seth Curry played in 2 separate summer leagues, one in Orlando, the other in Phoenix, once again proving he belonged. And what did he get for his efforts? Another spot in the D-League. This time with the Erie Bayhawks, the Orlando Magic's affiliate team, based not in Florida, but in Erie, Pennsylvania. Erie wasn't a glamorous city. With a population of just over 100,000, it was almost one of the coldest and snowiest places in the entire country. So picture that. While his brother Steph was shining under the bright lights of the Golden City, Seth was buried in the snow in the middle of nowhere, grinding through sub-zero conditions, hoping, praying that someone would notice him. And though not many people were paying attention, quality has always mattered more than quantity.
Pretty much after every game, he'll send me a text or tweet me or something like that, telling me he watched the game or tell me a good game or stuff like that. But
at that point, Seth could have picked up the phone, called his brother, and asked for a favor, a spot on the Warriors, a foot in the door. But he never did. He wanted to earn it. He wanted to make it on his own terms. So back to the grind he went. Eventually, the Phoenix Suns noticed him and signed him to another 10-day contract. But like all the ones before it, the clock ran out and he was sent back to the D-League. By now, he was 25 years old, a critical point in terms of a basketball player's career, and while his older brother was en route to a league MVP and a championship, Seth was still fighting for scraps in the minor leagues. They had grown up side by side, on the same driveway, in the same household, but in the basketball world, they were oceans apart. I mean, in 2015, Steph was the face of the league, while Seth was still submitting applications to get into the Summer League. But a wise man once said, if you're going through hell, keep going. On July 22, 2015, after long years of grinding in the shadows, Seth was finally offered a real opportunity. This wasn't a handout from his brother. This wasn't favoritism. In fact, Seth admitted his last name might have done more harm than good, that being a Curry actually made it harder to break into the NBA.
I said a lot early on, if my name was Joe Smith, I would have been in the league a long time ago. But
ironically, however, it might have been the very revolution Steph ignited, the league-wide obsession with three-point shooting, that opened the door for Seth, because it was his shooting that got him noticed. He wasn't a star, not by any stretch, but based on how well he played, it was baffling that no one had given him a shot sooner.
Koufis, back for Curry. Here's a three. Yes!
The following season, always hungry for bigger opportunities, he signed with the Dallas Mavericks. And not only did he keep lighting it up from deep, he became a legit starting caliber player. I'm talking nearly 50-40-90 splits, elite efficiency. I remember watching him back then, shaking my head thinking, how could a player this good ever get stuck in the G League? But just as things were finally falling into place for Seth, life threw another punch. After fighting for years just to find his place in the league, a leg injury took it all away. Another setback, another chapter of frustration. When he returned, however, it was like he'd never left. Not only did he shoot a blistering 45% from three, but he became a key piece of a team that made it all the way to the Western Conference Finals, marking the first time in NBA history that two brothers battled each other that deep into the playoffs. Over the next few years, Seth bounced around the league without any real home and any long-term fit. But two things never changed. He was one of the best shooters alive, and he was a star in his role. By 2025, he led the entire NBA in three-point efficiency. Then the following year, he finally caught up to his brother, not in fame, not in accolades, but as a member of the Golden State Warriors. During a Warriors preseason broadcast, Richard Jefferson made a comment that raised a few eyebrows.
I think he has some job security. him and Thanasis have some job security. I'm just going to put it out there. Rightfully so.
Everyone who knows a thing about Seth Curry's career knows what RJ said was absolutely blasphemous. Because if there's one player who earned every single inch of his career without ever cashing in on his last name, it's Seth Curry. This just shows how biased RJ is toward LeBron. I mean, how are you going to mention nepotism and bring up Seth's name, but not Bronny's? Seth's journey to finally reach his brother's side wasn't glamorous. It wasn't loud, but it was real. Perseverance, determination, a dream realized. After years of being overlooked, doubted, and dismissed, he didn't just make it, he earned it. And maybe, for Seth Curry, that was the biggest championship of all. Against every odd, against every voice that said he didn't belong, he climbed, and finally, he arrived.